So I'm excited to do this one today. I focus on this channel about we're a lot more powerful than people think. And I know sometimes my comment is so out there. Doesn't mean it's not true. It's just out there. But I want to bring it down to something that even if you can't understand how powerful we really are on the opposite end of protection and whatnot, I wanted to talk about energetic boundaries and how those are just as important. So energetic boundaries consist of two things. One is your natural vibration and your belief and thought systems. They have an energetic boundary that they bring without you having to say or do anything. It's in your vibration, it's in the way you move, your talk, your beliefs, your core founding. So one part of energetic boundaries are those that you just bring naturally, depending on your outset or outlook. And I'm going to go into what comprises that, because your vibration will indicate how people interact with you, because they know if people can energetically read if you have weaknesses, if you have triggers. People can read if you have insecurities. I know you don't think they can, but they can. It's an energetic finding of that information. And depending on how you present your thoughts, beliefs, and confidence in yourself, confidence is the ultimate for energetic boundaries that people don't want to touch. They're scared of that. And we'll go into that. But the other part is, like, for energetic boundaries, you can actually give a directive for what your energetic boundary reads, and people will respond to it. I do this all the time so that I don't have problems, right? So my energy brings a certain amount that most people aren't going to try me. I might try you. Some people do, and they learn the hard way, whatever, but they're just not. But then some do. But there's also, if I am mindful of that day or in that interaction to assert what the energetic boundary is, that is read, it is understood by the other person, the energy of the other person, the higher self of the other person, the soul of the other person. And that supersedes anything else. So let's go into this. The first part is, how do you show up? I find confidence, and confidence comes from something, is the biggest energetic boundary you can have. Hidden traumas and triggers is also very powerful. So for me, I've done a lot of shadow work, looked at things I didn't like about myself, forgiven myself for things in the past. And I don't have a lot of triggers. Like, I might look at you funny if you do something rude to me, but I'm not triggered. I'm just deciding on how I'm going to make you deal with the consequences. It's different energy, right? So when people are assessing my energy, they might try to find, where can I get in? Does she care about her weight? Is she upset about her intelligence? Is she embarrassed about her path? Is she like, this is all read energetically. So the more work you do to heal those triggers so that someone can remark on it and it does not disturb your peace, anxiety, or how angry you get, they just can't disturb what you have, the better, because those are energetic readings. You know, it doesn't take long for people to find these things out too without even knowing you before they read this all energetically. So if you're confident and you work through your emotional triggers, people just don't approach you the same way, especially confidence. Because what I have found, I've always been a confident kid, but that's definitely grown as I accomplish more in life and prove it to myself, but that can be seen by others. You know, I'm a capable, functional, successful person, right? Now, I always had confidence, that just adds on top of it because you sort of have some level of outward validation. So with being confident, what I found, the reason people don't try you isn't because you're confident. It's because they think if you say something, if they say something wrong, you're going to shine a light on them, that you're not going to be bothered, but you're going to flip it back on them and easily talk about what their insecurities are, what they're ashamed of, so they don't do it because you're confident. Fear if they say something rude or neglectful that you're going to flip it on them and you have no problems doing it. Whereas some other people not as confident would never flip the script back on somebody, right? And especially if you do it in a way where you're not triggered and you're not emotional or angry, you're very collected about it. So I find that confidence, as well as you working on your emotional trigger, it makes so that generally when I'm out and about, like I think online, I might have more people who try me because they just don't know until, like I said, I do what I do, and I'm going to talk about that. But out in public, and of course, this also goes with like shielding and protection, which I've already spoken about. Not going to go into that because it just seems to be, a lot of you guys don't feel that that's real, so I'm not going to go into it. I only do that with my one-on-one clients, and go into the occult side of this. Just you walking in that confidence and not being triggered and doing all that emotional healing, because you can't fake emotional healing. You either have the triggers or you have not. You release the triggers in that energy, or it's still there, and as soon as something touches it, it goes so deep because it hits on all these other things that it's related to that have not been healed and fixed. So I find that I just don't live in, you know, when you have really strong energetic boundaries, you just don't have the same issues. You can be 2 or 3 people sitting in the same place and they're going to act one way with that one person, they don't know you, and another way with you, and they just know, right? That's an energetic boundary by your vibration. Also, the reason I have a strong energetic vibration is that because I don't get triggered, I'm the person in a situation where you can attack me. I'm not going to get emotional and attack you back. Like, I'm going to attack you back, but it'll be different. Like, it's not going to be direct in your face. It's my own ways of dealing with it. And if you've been listening to me, you know I have my own ways of dealing with people, right? On the spiritual level. So I have extreme confidence. I'm not getting worked up. I'm not getting worked up by you, by the cops, by the government, by like nobody. Because within my confidence and my energetic boundary is I have access to tools that can make me rise above whatever you're trying to put me in. That level of confidence not being triggered means that I have conflict resolution. When you're not being triggered, you can't emotionally get me to attack back like that, and I'll be cool, calm, and collected. What you're getting is someone I'm not going to get worked up. And so when people encounter that, there's an energetic reading of my body that you're not going to try me or play me or have like an emotional response. That's read in my energy field. So when you have a very strong vibrational energetic boundary, not just positive thoughts, because you can think positive thoughts all day and people are like, oh, you're weak, right? I'm talking a strong energetic boundary. Like, I come with wisdom, I come with knowledge, I come with conflict resolution, I come with confidence, I come as someone who's worked through all of my issues. So you can't just be trying me like this. It's not going to go the way you think. I'm not the typical person who acts emotionally. People can read all of that, and those are beliefs. That's a knowing, that's your energy, that's your confidence. That is your programming. That is read by people, right? And that's why some people you can be watching and they have an interaction, that person who has that vibration, like clockwork, he's going to de-escalate. He's going to get you to calm down. He's never going to get excited. or she, because that's all read in their energy field. So someone might try them, but they bring that. And when you have a strong energetic boundary mixed with that wisdom, knowledge, confidence, emotional healing, so you're not triggered, beliefs, understanding, and knowing that you have the ultimate power in a situation. What's good about it is that someone is acting very emotionally and triggered and letting other people in society and the world determine their emotional outstate versus them having full control over it. The benefits is when you have a strong energetic boundary, like people, I and others have, is that we have this ability to keep everyone calm and focused on the higher thing. It's very powerful. We need more people like this, because then when you're a Y presence, like I've seen people almost fight. And I do what I do spiritually, I do what I do mentally, I do what I do energetically, and it calmed down. So I've been in so many situations where things are starting to pop off, but because of my occult knowledge, as well as my vibration and my assertion that this isn't going to happen, I mean, there's so many things that were going to escalate that just de-escalated. And that is the power of your energetic boundaries as your high vibration. And no one wants to talk about it. I've never heard anyone talk about this, but that's what you bring as you're doing this healing work. And I want you to stand very firmly, and that's what you bring. And understanding when you get to that level of just being very tranquil, that's the kind of energetic boundary people can read. And even if they're not reading it, because your energetic boundaries are so firm, I remember these two guys are starting to fight out of Panera Bread. Just was happening. They worked together. One was an older black man, one was a younger black man. Don't know how it happened, but they were getting into it. I remember I was there, and I remember just barking out, "No, you're not fighting today." And I meant it. It wasn't just me saying it, but energetically, there was a lot of energy behind it. And it was interesting because it was going, but it de-escalated after that. And of course, was it me? Was it other things? Well, I also called in my spirit guides and told them to handle this so it didn't happen. So it was two parts. It was the confidence and energy you assert and your energetic boundary that people read. Like, people have no choice but to read your boundaries. And of course, I have my occult knowledge, which also helps. But it was just interesting because I've been in multiple situations where people were getting angry at the fast food restaurant or at the bus stop. And every single time, if I'm there, that shit's not going to happen. No, I didn't come here for this. My kid didn't come here for this. You're not going to do this. And it's, for me, my confidence and power comes through my spiritual aspect, because I do have so many tools on that side that can quickly reverse a situation and change a situation, which I've spoken about at length on my spirituality channel, Sun, Venus, Moon. So definitely that is an aspect, but it's all of that power you have in your ability to not let life happen to you, but you to affect life is in that energetic boundary people read. So when you say stuff, like, it is listened to or heard, depending on like the assertiveness in which you state it. Usually when dumb shit's about to go off, I'm very assertive. Like, no, we're not doing that. Now let's talk about the other energetic boundary. So this is going to get a little bit more occult, but I think most of you guys could understand that, if not my more hidden science stuff that can make you guys go, "Oh, that's not true," even though it completely is. Why do you think I'm so confident? But stuff you can understand is that you can give a directive to your boundary and your energy field for the day. So sometimes I go into places where I know it's a little bit lower vibrational than I usually hang out in for different reasons. Maybe it's a new karaoke bar. Like, I'm going to take a trip to Montana. I'll talk about that in my new blog thing. And, you can go into some places that are a little bit racy, a little bit racist, a little bit lower class, just as many. And there's just as many as not. I'm not trying to say Montana's racist. I'm just saying it can be. Whatever. Doesn't mean it always is. It means you might have 5 places in Montana. One might be a little like, "Why'd you walk in here?" Whereas in Mississippi, it's like 1 and 2, right? So it's different. I can take 1 and 5. But in that situation, what I've learned to do is I will walk in and I will give a directive. And this works every time for the most part. I will say, and I think this, you can think it to yourself or out loud, but I'll just simply walk in and go, "Treat me with respect, or there will be severe consequences to those who don't," right? And there are severe consequences you're going to deal with, not me. That's what it means to be a powerful priestess. You know how to get it done. That's why we walk in a certain light. Like, we're unbothered. Like, what are we going to be bothered for? It's your life, not mine, that's going to be affected. You know, we have the resources. And so it's funny because I go to a Planet Fitness in like a rougher part of town too, but it's closest to me, so whatever. That's why I go. And so sometimes there people can get a little funny. You know, there could be a little bit of judgment, people judging you, people thinking this, a lot of judgment and competitiveness, like I'm the top dog, whatever, women and men, right? That's another place where generally when I walk in, I say, you guys need to treat me with respect or else there's severe consequences to you. I tell you when I do that versus when I don't do that, it is night and day. Not that to say people are going around being rude to me, because that's just not my reality, but some could slip in. You know, they might have demonic presences on them, negative entities. And I used to be a bit more of a target, but they've learned to really not mess with me anymore because I delete them from this plane of existence. And I do that very quickly. So they usually actually don't like they used to before I learned these skills. But it can happen. But I find when I do that, it's no, or I might go into a situation where like only happy vibes in this area today. I'm not saying it, I'm saying it as both an intention from, but I'm also saying like that is what I want my energetic boundary to read when I walk in here. And I'm showing you this because this is the power of utilizing this, because that is read and understood. So if it's read and understood, for the most part, people sort of respond to that because you made it very clear. And it sounds like a little thing, but imagine your life when you walk into a family event where people like to ask you about, are you having, I don't know, this isn't my issue, but some people get mad that they're always getting asked, like, are you going to have a kid? Not my issue, but I know it's some other people. And you're like, the boundary today is you're not going to ask me about this. Now, I generally have an if then. I usually go, do not, treat me respectfully or else there are severe consequences. People listen to that. Now for you might not be able to implement because you don't have like that skill base or knowledge to implement severe consequences in the way that I do, which is esoterically. But you have other ways. You might if you do this, I will do X. Then you could write that in your boundary. And so when you walk into any situation, it is automatically understood. So I would like for you guys to take this knowledge and to try it and to test it out, for it to really process that we really have a lot more power than you think we do, and just take the time to understand that that's reality. And this reality is physical and it's a matrix, but we're spiritual beings. And it's time for you to start using your spiritual knowledge and ability to shift not only the energy for the people around you and shift your life. Like manifesting, one part is manifesting, journaling, thinking about it. That's one part of creating the life you want. The other one is energetically going, this is how it's going to happen today. And there's no arguments. That is the law. That is my law. That is my will. And I'd love for you guys to really start incorporating that. Now, I find when I say I will do severe consequences in my energetic boundaries, I find I have the most success. Maybe I'll start experimenting by just saying, I want this, and seeing if me just saying only positive vibes and friendly people can access me while I'm in this place. Because I usually just confine it to a certain place. You don't want to go too much with your boundaries and whatnot. But you could start with just doing that and seeing how your daily work thing goes. And I like to do things each day, because when you go to sleep and come back up, it's like the beginning of a new cycle. So you renew your intentions for the day or your boundaries for the day, and and you could be specific. This person does not come and talk to me. I think I had a video how when I date interracially, and sometimes I'm dating attractive white men, like white women really get upset. And so some of my boundaries are like, white women can't talk to me while I'm on my date. And it works. I know that sounds crazy, but it's true. those ladies, they fight in tooth and nail, a little delusionally, because some of them are really ugly and unattractive trying to come at me. But I'm like, okay, girl, in your mind, you're better because of your skin color, not because you've done anything or proven anything. But hey, it's out there. So that was a funny one, in which it was like, absolutely, white women and black men, when I date interracially, white men and black women do not talk to me. And I put that in my boundaries. They do not approach us. They do not talk. Don't want to hear it unless they're a server. So this is just an interesting, lighter way for you to be introduced to your spiritual empowerment. And I suggest you use it. see the power of it. And once you do, come back to this video and let me know what you think, or if you're already using energetic boundaries, let me know that as well. I also will link when I get to another place. I'll try to remember this. I'm starting a new channel called Single Mom Fun and Travel. Hopefully I'm not a single mom for fun, but we'll go into that when I finally seal the deal. And I'm going to be talking about it's for upwardly mobile moms, Black women who would like to, who will not stop at anything to position their legacies in the best possible position. And I'm doing it for two things. One, it's for travel, but there's certain types of travel you can do with your kid that is easier than others. So like cruises, because they have the daytime daycare centers that are really safe and fun. Also train travel, because, you know, taking a plane is just more tiring for a single mom, and I've done it, but a train trip is just so much better and so much easier. So things like that. Also, even the academic programs, positioning in things that I was not aware previously as a Black woman because of the society and class I was in, that I've been exposed to because of my activities, joining upper echelon, upper class type programs and volunteer organizations that I became aware of. Also traveling opened my eyes as well. So like just, you know, teaching my child French, you know, putting them in the yacht club, right? That's local. Or just different things you don't think about, but like depending on where you place your children really does give them access to a wider variety of friends. And so, and then even private schools, right, that I chose Montessori, but next year she's going to the international school, which has French immersion. But all of these things are very strategic and giving my daughter not only access to a higher echelon of people, right? It also will in the long term benefit them to be a well-trained, traveled American kid who knows multiple languages, but also is very comfortable around yachts and could work in the yacht industry or cruise industry with knowledge. Whereas before, Black people, we just didn't have access to this information. Now, the good thing is that because of my activities, I've gotten access to sort of these things and knowledge that we just didn't have awareness of, even it was a thing. And so I'd like to use this platform because I find that a lot of Black women don't even know this is a thing. But once they know, they're like, I can easily do that. And I like to say that because we're Black women, I feel outside of anyone else, we have a lot more class mobility and upward mobility than others, because if a Caucasian woman teaches their kid French, well, that's not new or common. However, if a Black woman does it, that is outstanding for where we are. And there's so many of us who can be outstanding because of the state of the community. You really should capitalize on that fact, that makes you unique. And it makes you, like, the fact that I did come from a working class neighborhood and I've achieved this makes it more powerful. It's one thing when it's expected and you don't do it. There's a study that like Black women and between Black women and Black men, that when Black women and white women are born in the same socioeconomic background, Black women equal or exceed it. And it's funny. And Black men, if they're born in the same socioeconomic class with white men, they'll be lower. It doesn't matter if they're wealthy. It doesn't matter. They're going to be lower. And I thought that was interesting because when I look back at my working class neighborhood I grew up in, I literally make more money than all of them combined, that who are my friends and associates in that neighborhood, period. All of them combined, right? They sort of stayed working class, and you know, I've graduated in social class through education, access, investing, and just social networking, social organizations, up. And it's just like, wow, like that is a true thing for a lot of us. So that's my Single Mom Fun and Travel. I'm also going to do curate events. Like I'm going to, and also talk about, like, right now it's language learning, because language learning, especially French, can be a very big sort of like boom to your kid. And I'm doing this very strategically because, you know, I'm giving her the opportunity when she goes to college, she can go to France, she can go to Quebec for college, which actually has very cheap tuitions, like $5,000 a year, right? And these but in a Western college, you don't have to necessarily like come here and retake the classes, you know, like if you go to a UK college, that's respected here in the US, or a French college or a German college, that's respected here in the US. Like you don't have to retake it like in some other countries. They got to retake their entire training again, right? Which I think could just make them even better, because if you're doing it twice and you're learning more, that just makes you a better, more effective person. So I don't think that's necessarily the wrong thing, but just opening her world so that not only can she take advantage of these international opportunities, right? But like as an American, knowing French is like a really big coup. Like it's a status symbol, and is one that's because that's most people Americans don't even learn a different language, let alone French. I'm talking so much about my new channel, but whatever. I just want to tell you guys about it. I'll link to it if you want to follow and see what I'm doing. But like, there's different ways to teach your kids that are very cheap, very affordable, very easy, that all of you guys can do. You guys know I know cheap, affordable, and easy and effective. That's just the way I roll. I'm also connected, so my spirit guides be giving me ideas too. Yeah, there's just so much more to it that you can start positioning your kids or even yourself. So I started learning French, then I started teaching her. But boom, I'm finding out that like when I teach her, it reinforces what I learned. Tutors are very cheap. I pay $5 an hour for tutors. That's amazing for French tutors. So my French is done. So we're going to Quebec. And so I went to Quebec for myself and I curated that content. But then for her, there's all these like things, kids focused restaurants, kid focused museums and parks, kid focused this, that we're going to spend the week. And the goal is to make sure she's around other kids so she can practice what we learned with Rosetta Stone and the tutoring online, right? Also train travel. So I'm not, and cruise, we're going to go. So I have like whole itineraries I'll put out there. So if any parents would like to, who are also want to sort of travel still, but travel in a way that's comfortable. So for instance, there's like 10 different very scenic train tours. And I'm going to take 2 this summer, one with my daughter, one by myself. But it's a really cool thing if you guys, if anybody wanted to join and just sort of start building a community, because train travel is easier with kids, especially if you don't have to transfer, than other types of travel, and it's more relaxing. So cruises are something you can do with kids, and they have the daycare. So as a single mom, starting to incorporate cruises and like a community of that is really amazing, because then you're not as tired, right? You can just relax. Your kid could be for 8 hours a day in the kids zone, but then you eat together, but you have time to yourself, to go to the gym, enjoy the entertainment, do this together. So I'm thinking of things, because I've loved travel between train and the cruises, just different things we can do, and we can start building a community around it. And the train trip is because I always wanted to see the America, but I don't want to drive. And so like, it's just tiring. Like I traveled in my van with my daughter, but like, if you don't have someone else driving, it's just tiring. And I'm a woman. I'm not trying to be all hustle and bustle and testosterone driven. And, I'm in my feminine. So I had to be more creative and go above that and go with like, well, this is what I'm doing for travel. So I still get to see the country. I still get to see the world. But it's a lot easier as a single parent who loves travel. And there's so many of us that does that. Yes. And I say upwardly mobile because there are places we can put our kids that really give not only ourselves and our kids an advantage, but also takes our life up to a higher aesthetic, but in a very easy and graceful way, right? Where it's like, oh, I can do this more often. Daycare is included. And I'm also going to talk about traveling, like in Canada, they have a lot of places where babysitting is included at the hotel, right? Well, that's very interesting. Of course, you want to be very cautious. Natalie McCann is something that sort of sticks with me. But still, like, there's there. So yes, good. This isn't for this channel. This is like spiritual topics, but I will link to the other channel, and I'm going to try to do some videos maybe tonight after I work out. And I'm just going to talk about all things class, upward mobility, that I find a lot of people just don't know. Black women just don't know, just because where we come from, no one does that. And I've been giving access to this world. And like I said, Black women are able to class navigate a lot more. I'm telling you, my daughter, I take her to Williamsburg, Virginia, which is sort of like, it's William and Mary. It's very intellectual. It's like very high class white American, right? And it's so interesting because of my activities and going to their French. And then I bring my daughter, and I will be honest, my daughter gets like shot to the front. You know what I'm saying? Like, because of my daughter also does it, because I'm doing the activities and I might bring her along for her educational benefit. But like, I'm telling you, other people cannot take advantage of that much shooting to the top, networking, getting access the way Black women and their kids can, if you position yourself in those circumstances. And the benefits are, it's just access, right? Like I had a contractor friend I was dating, and like the thing is, because of that access, if I invite him to any party, like he gets nothing but recommendations by people who have the money to actually do it. Not only that, they're the ones who tell me about new things I didn't know about, but honestly, most of the times I'm putting them on game. So they like listening to me because they know I always come up with something fresh and new. So there's a very mutual, like they get the culture from me, and I get something from them, right? Access from them, but like the class navigation and upward mobility, because so if you go to say like, so I went to my, there's a golf club, and if you go to, I was in the private club. When you go to a private club, if you're just sitting there and you don't know anyone, like you really don't get access, right? Because people, their guard is up. But when I go to 2 towns away, the Newport News Yacht Club, because my daughter is in their yacht program, the junior yacht program, and I get invited by the other parents, it's very interesting. Not only is she learning a really cool skill where she can take with her if she wanted to travel and do this, but I get accepted a lot more than if I just showed up at the yacht club for dinner, right? So they're always like, oh, if you want to meet high-end people, go to these places. Well, you're just going to stick out, because if you don't have someone to give you entree and direct connection and direct introduction, it doesn't work. Their guards are up and they're not really trying to let you in. They'll be polite though. They're very good at being polite. But if you strategically place your kid in the programs, not only is your kid learning a different avenue of social network, but like the guard is down. And that's something no one told us about, right? No one told me about this, but I'm finding because of the private school, yacht club, French programs, French immersion, going to Alliance Française, which is like a program all over the country for people who want to build up their French speaking skills. All of a sudden there's this world and access where if I would have tried to get that just by going by myself, I didn't have. But being part of like just strategically placing yourself and doing the work, right? We're doing the work to go to the Alliance Française chapters to speak it, right? Not as someone who's born from it, like someone who with a desire, which also makes you a little bit more respectable and people more agreeable with you. All of that plays into it. And so I just want to talk about like doing this, all the different things that we are doing, how we're implementing it. And so it'll be about, best ways for language learning if you want to do your kids, how we started, what we use, what resources. And I found a lot of really good ones that are working really well. And I'll go into details and give my reviews. Like French English books are really good. Like I read them to her and then she has to read the English, I read the French, but then once we go through the book, she reads the French and I read the English. So like just different ways that you supplement what's out there and how to supplement Rosetta Stone. And also just like opportunities it'll open. So I will link to my Single Mom Fun and Travel. It'll be like a YouTube thing where I just go over all the things I'm using and their effectiveness or not. But I hope you guys are interested. Also, when I do trips, I'll post the trips. If you want to join, I'll send an email. I'll put an email address. You just contact me. And I mean, let's do it. I just want you to know the trips I'm planning are going to be fun and easy to do as a single parent, where you can bring them. They still get access to the world and educational. But we're not tired as women, because I'm telling you, once I had my kid 6 years ago, that hustle for the, like it's gone. I want things, but it needs to be easy. Okay, this is a crud about your ancestor money. I do it, and I just did it yesterday, ancestor money, which if you watch my video on all things ancestral, you'll see the benefit of it because my ancestors gave me the biggest thank you. Oh, okay, you can do a couple things. Now, the energy you put out comes back to you. So when I was really aggressive, where now I do it weekly, but there was a time when I was doing it every day. I was burning ancestral money. The funny thing is, because I was putting out all that energy of giving money, that reflects back on you energetically. Does that make sense? So just doing that in general, you're putting out like the giving and gifting of energy. It really makes you magnetic towards energy. You can give it, you can receive it. It's reflecting back what you're putting out into the world. So that in general gives you this really beautiful energy of being able to give money. But you can also do it, and I found this out myself, and I have deeper conversations about this, so I won't go too much into it. But I also, not only do I the ancestors money do I burn for my ancestors, but also you can burn it like for your bank accounts, receive a large dose of money, you know, for your highest health and wealth, assisted by beings of integrity, a light. So you can also do that and go your pocketbook. Now, I would say caveat this with like just understanding, give and get. So, you know, I never just do it for my pocketbook or bank accounts. I'll always do it for my ancestors. Well, I don't know. I just sold my house, and so I paid off all my bills for a year, and I'm paying off my house. So like I'm good. So the ancestors came through for me already, like after all these years of doing it. So I'm in a really good financial place right now where I'm not worried about money, at least for a good year until I get married. Like I said, like until you just get married. But yeah, so it does pay out in the long run because they, you know, it is acknowledged, it is seen. You got to understand their higher selves are watching you doing this, right? You understand? So if not that soul's person, the higher self that sort of controls or who is managing their earth's experience sees you doing that. So just keep that in mind. All right. So I'll let it go with that. So because he asked so it could be in his bank account. So I'll post it when I get home. I'll also do a couple videos tonight. See, this is the thing that gets me. If I need to edit and do all that stuff, like I'm not gonna do it. Which is like what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to edit well and da 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 da. But like it's just not in me right now. I just want to give you the content. So it's not going to be super pretty. It's just going to be me, you giving the content, and maybe one day I'll get an editor to do it. I just don't have the energy for that. I just have the energy for the content, not all the editing. It just is what it is. But I hope you guys like it. Hope you guys join me. These trips I already are planned. I'm just going to give you the things that it's something you've never heard about or you didn't know about to come join us, because then it's a little bit more fun when you bring your children and my children on a train. I think the next one I'm going to do is there's a really nice scenic train in North Carolina and one in West Virginia. So I'm going to put together some routes. So if you can just do one of it or both, it'd still be cool to meet you, have your kids on board, have fun. You need to ask your higher self to intervene. And it depends. Sometimes you have some karmic lessons that she's implementing and you need to learn the lesson. So what you should do is just ask them for help and guidance on how to navigate this so that you can cleanse this karmic plate. But because of free will, they can't just intervene unless it's like real, like your guardian angels, they gotta let stuff happen unless it's really against what your path and purpose is. So free will is ultimate, but you asking is how you get the perspective, and she'll give it to you. Oh, it's really beautiful, Aromatic. Thank you. I receive. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I receive all the positive energy. If you have any negative stuff, we'll just transmute that to love, right? But no, thank you. Yeah. So yeah, that's what we have to do. But if you want to go deeper into like these questions and how to work more, I think effectively with like all the spiritual like knowledge you have, just sign up for a clarity session and of different programs. I do mostly one-on-one at this stage, but whatever you'd like, get on my email list too, because sometimes I put like little deals out or little one-off programs. All right, guys, I hope you enjoy. Go ahead and follow. I'm going to put a link in about an hour. And I think tomorrow, I've been meeting the last 3 days. I think I'll actually get to it now since it seems like you guys are interested. I'm going to put down like the start of like just giving this information out on my Single Mom Fun and Travel blog and see who would like to join me. All right. Thank you so much. That's super sweet. All right. Hope you enjoyed. You guys take care and have fun. Bye.